Right, delegates, I want to, first of all, this speech I'm about to look at, I want to thank one person for it, and he did it in conjunction with Peter Hughes. I want to thank Michael Hayes sincerely for it and the assistance with it. Okay, Michael? Dear delegates, I would firstly like to welcome and thank you all for your attendance at this year's annual conference. I would like to warmly welcome our colleagues from NASRA, as Tony has mentioned there, and a fine speech, and thanks Tony for that, and hope that you all enjoy your time here in the Mount Wolseley. It is a great pleasure every year to see so many of our branch officials and members congregate in one place to assess the year gone by and to discuss the year ahead, within an atmosphere of respect and camaraderie. We have continued this tradition throughout our history as an organisation, this being the 46th time we have gathered together in the wish of making the P&A stronger, and which we have become stronger. Over those years, progress has not bounded forward, but has been gradual, consistent and unwavering. Nevertheless, if our founding members could see us now after all those years, I believe they would be proud of how far their dream has come and of the dedication we have in the P&A in maintaining that dream. And that's down to you. Thank you very much for that. The faces may have changed, bodies have changed, things like that. Age catches up over the years. The ideas might be different. The one thing that has remained the same is the passion to move forward, even in times of difficulty, and we have suffered great difficulty and come through it. The P&A has over nearly 5 decades completely changed the landscape of mental health nursing in Ireland, for the better. The P&A has not only been a trade union, but a voice for nurses and a voice for the mentally ill. Many men and women have added their voices to our cause over those years. Their voices are now the bedrock we stand on today, and you, my friends, continue to add those foundations with your presence and your passion. And again, I thank you for that. With that in mind, I am sure that this year's conference will be a massive success and will continue to strengthen and cement the foundations of this association. We have been passionate in our fight for a fairer industrial relations landscape, for better pay and conditions for nurses, but have always maintained our ethos of the patient comes first. This is what sets us apart. We are not just a trade union. We as nurses are first and foremost the voice and advocates of our clients. The P&A has always been there to echo that voice and always will. The last decade has seen great turbulence, to say the least. Newly graduated nurses fled this country for better prospects abroad, and who would have blamed them? At the time, there appeared to be nothing here but under-resourced services, no permanent posts, an unsure future and limited prospects, not to mention an overtaxed workforce in every sense of the word. The nation has taken a great deal of pain and burden, a burden which was placed on the working class of this country with the expectation to carry on, keep it going and work hard. That is exactly what we did. Now we face the prospect of pay talks. I hope that our pay masters remember the sacrifices and pain, because we do and we won't let them forget it. It's time to fully restore nurses' pay and compensate nurses for the work and responsibilities that we do. To discuss nurse salaries within the grand scheme of public service pay will not resolve the issues that we face in nursing. Nursing is a special case, one that this government can no longer ignore. We have come to a stage where market forces now dictate where nursing professionals choose to work. In an attempt to change the landscape that we had found ourselves in, the P&A conference considered and debated several motions from the floor last year regarding the recruitment and retention of nurses. The P&A was resolute that change was needed. Planning was required and we demanded it. We concentrated on the facts. One fact: 600 vacant psychiatric nursing posts with worse to come. No investment in vision for change and the research to back that claim. No attempts from the HSE to resolve the crisis. Deficits in the development of career pathways. The motions that day set us on a path and a campaign to ultimately succeed in our objectives. Following a vote in favour of industrial action, we served notice to the employer and commenced a series of phased actions which would eventually end after 49 days. And I want to thank you all for partaking in that action. It was absolutely brilliant. During that period, our full-time officials and the Officer Board negotiated daily to satisfy what was necessary. The discussions were tough and arduous, but without fear. Any threats of action was given with the full knowledge on both sides that the membership of the P&A were not accustomed to walking away from a fight. The P&A had stood here before and were never left wanting. I believe that it was this resolve, felt throughout the country, that brought us success. Success not just for us, but for the entire mental health service. Agreement was reached on the following: an additional 130 training places by the end of this year, with a further review in 2018. The establishment of postgraduate training. The appointment of all temporary nurses. The appointment of graduates. An agreement in how to address the disincentives regarding recruitment and retention. Improving efficiencies in recruitment. The securing of the LSI rate of pay for retired nurses. Consistency in overtime rates of pay. 28 new advanced nurse practitioner posts. Immediate application of the serious physical assault scheme. The return of the community allowance. Payment of incremental credit for 2011-2015 graduates was achieved outside the agreement. A special NEC was called to discuss the issue. Meetings for those affected were called in head office and young members stepped forward to lend their voices. Following a period of political lobbying, Minister Simon Harris enacted the necessary changes and requested that DPARS concede the claim. I would like to thank all those who attended those meetings and maintained the belief that resolution was possible. I wish to particularly thank Thomas Hare, Katrina O'Neill and Philip Doyle for representing their colleagues so well and for taking centre stage for the P&A throughout the campaign. The importance of these achievements should not be underestimated. The return of the community allowance is a massive achievement. Prior to the agreement, it was uncertain if it would ever be reinstated. For many working in the community, especially those qualified since its abolition, it means a real tangible increase in earnings. The hope being that this difference will be an incentive for nurses to return home. Permanency has meant security for nurses, allowing many to move on with their lives. Over the coming 4 years, we hope to see 2,000 new nurses enter the system. The retention of these nurses is paramount to the delivery of services. There is not one of us here that believes that this is the end, only the beginning. The success of our action is of course welcome and needed, but this is but the first step on a path set out by this membership 12 months ago, and I commend you for that and for delivering that pathway to us. Since the conclusion of our action, we have made our submission to the Public Service Pay Commission and will enter discussions within the coming months. We have made it very clear that the time has come to resolve the issues regarding nursing pay immediately. I need to see the crisis in nursing for what it is, a country losing its nurses to competitive forces abroad. Market forces which are at play will continue unless nursing pay is dealt with in the manner necessary. Pay which reflects the value placed on nurses abroad and making sure they stay at home. Not only is there competition abroad, but a real push is underway from private services to poach nurses away from the public sector. The competitiveness within the market is starting to become clear to the government. Without us, the service will never run. Without us, the patient suffers. Without us, the sector grinds to a halt. Hopefully, in the coming months, our government will remember that. We remain in talks to oversee the implementation of the agreement reached. We remain engaged in the implementation group to ensure the rollout of the agreement and to maintain the pressure from our membership regarding its application. The verification group has now completed its work and the community allowance will be paid in full in the coming weeks. The 24/7 crisis service groups continue to meet in an attempt to establish services in a pilot project which would inform further service provision into the future. These meetings have been very difficult. Discussions have been lengthy and we have questioned the resolve of the HSE on numerous occasions regarding their desire to back up their claims on the 24/7 services. For too long, we have lived in a society that has no difficulty in professing the need for continuous service provision. Many politicians and parties have used the mental health card when Dáil seats are up for grabs. Colleagues, I ask you this, where are they now? Who will step up without the prospect of political gain and do what is right? Instead, silence. Too soon are the families forgotten. The elderly parent with the mentally ill son or daughter, the brother or sister who has no one to turn to late at night when their loved one is inconsolable, or the individual who hits breaking point when the rest of the world sleeps. This is an injustice to the most vulnerable in our society. It is about time that it stopped. We are also currently within talks regarding the application of the sick leave scheme. This has been ongoing for nearly 10 months and has been attended by all public service unions. Although the main benefits of the revised scheme appear to be unchanged, at this point in time, uncertainties remain regarding some provisions. Reforms regarding the calculation of temporary rehabilitation remuneration, TRR, formerly known as the pension rate of pay, have been suggested by the Department to streamline the administration of TRR due to the varied discrepancies across the public service in how it is paid. These changes could potentially greatly limit the value of this payment to those who need it most. The vast majority of us will never need to access TRR, but for those of us that do, it is a lifeline that must not be diminished. I would call on all delegates to answer the call if these draconian measures continue to be pushed upon us. A process is also currently underway to restore the time and 1/6 that was withdrawn from us. The reinstatement of this payment will be linked to productivity measures which are presently under discussion. Once again, restoring something that was once lost. A forum regarding the CHO's restructuring has had several meetings. Here, we will be able to set out our proposals regarding how these new structures will lend themselves to positive patient outcomes, ease of access to service and proper nurse management systems across the board. These talks will define the future of our areas and cement the very elements that will be in place for perhaps decades to come. Unfortunately, delegates, this will be my last year addressing you as chairman of this great organisation. It has been one of the many great pleasures in my life to have held this position for the past 4 years and to have had the pleasure of working with amazing individuals on numerous officer boards over the years. As I reflect on that time, one memory does not dominate or pop to mind as being the most significant. That has never been what it is about. Change is slow. It is a race without a finish line. The aim is to keep moving. For some, that can be a daunting experience. It is about building success on success to win all the small battles so that the conditions of employment of our members are continually evolving in a workplace that is constantly changing. The members of those officer boards over the years knew that. There were, of course, difficult times, heated exchanges, passionate words, but always in an atmosphere of respect and, of course, democracy. I have continuously been inspired by the passion of my colleagues on the board and the strength of unity that they have embodied. I, with all my heart, thank them for their dedication, hard work and commitment, but most of all for your friendship and your company. That I will always cherish. You're shoving it on now, Michael. Now, I would like to give you a brief history lesson. In the 70s, the P&A was a fledgling organisation. It had not come of age. The entire decade was filled with turbulence. Oil prices soared, political turmoil reigned, emigration was reaching levels unseen since the famine. It was a time when Jack Lynch, the real Taoiseach, the whole world was dancing to disco. ABBA won the Eurovision, Waterloo, and the first giant leap forward for the P&A was about to take place. A man, then just a boy, was taking his first steps away from the bright lights of Carlowtown and heading to the big smoke. He left behind his roots in search for knowledge and wisdom. No longer confined to small town opinions and traditions, he was eager to dive into the oceans of thought that lay ahead of him. I can only imagine what that first journey must have been like. The anticipation, the imaginings of what was to come, the excitement and the thrill of the future yet unknown. It wasn't a long journey, a mere few hours, but the dreams must have felt endless. All those ambitions had finally come to pass. Des Kavanagh had made it. He had made it to Portrane. In those early years, it is difficult to assess how much Des learned from his time in St. Eata's, but one thing is for sure, he got an education. These years were to be the beginning of a long life in industrial relations. During his tenure, we would achieve significant increases in nurse pay, better conditions, higher levels of professional stature, and the creation of a power base much larger than our size. We will hear much of these achievements and reminisce about Des's time within the P&A, but I want to talk to you about who Des Kavanagh is. I have had the pleasure of knowing Des for many, many years, and what is most evident when you meet him is his ability to talk to anyone. He is unwavering in his ability to speak to prince or pauper, to communicate ideas with those in power, and to show fearlessness where others would fail. He has time and time again relentlessly fought for those facing injustice and stood time and time again beside nurses who needed help, guidance and support. There are many sides to Des. He has many strings on his bow, but what brings them all together is his intelligence. I once read an interview with Bill Gates in which he discussed intelligence in leadership, and I hunted it down again to share with you all today. He said, "It's an elusive concept. There's a certain sharpness and ability to absorb new facts, to walk into a situation, have something explained to you and immediately say, well, what about this? To ask an insightful question, to absorb it in real time, a capacity to remember, to relate to domains that may not seem connected at first. A certain creativity that allows people to be effective. In his more than 25 years as General Secretary, Des Kavanagh has walked into thousands and thousands of situations. His effectiveness has come from his creativity. His ability to absorb new facts and assess quickly have been the key to his successes. As Bill Gates would say, a certain sharpness. In Mr. Kavanagh's case, it's razor-like. For many years in my role as National Chairman, I have attended many national talks and attended National Joint Council parallel process meetings regularly with Des. I have met with ministers and government officials with him, and one thing is often the case when we walk into the room, everyone there knows who Des Kavanagh is, and by reflection, everyone knows who the P&A is. His reputation precedes him. Strangers to him are aware of who he is. They make sure to shake his hand. Those who already know him, even from adversarial venues, will stand to greet him. He is a man respected, but that respect has been earned. Respect is hard to come by. It takes a lifetime to achieve and only a minute to lose, but for a quarter of a century, Des has only added to his and never taken away. This is not an easy task. To be able to stay true to one's beliefs, passions and obligations without burning every bridge you walk across is an extremely difficult business. And although I'm sure that Des himself would admit to being no shrinking violet, something many of us can attest to, over those years he has built strong bridges that all of us in the P&A rely upon today. It is impossible to quantify the sacrifices that Des has made over the years for the P&A. He often recalls stories from the early days when he was starting out. Long drives to places the P&A had never been before. The cold reception from certain individuals who wanted the maintenance of old monopolies and feared the union that wanted equality and natural justice for all. Endless nights of negotiations, hours of research to take him a step ahead, and his continued search for allies with knowledge beyond his own. He has never been ignorant to the wisdom of others and has continuously sought it out. He once equated all that we hear, see and learn to the well of knowledge that we all dip into. Over the years, it gets deeper and deeper, but its depths have no end. The curiosity continues, the challenge continues. To a lesser person, such a motto would seem impossible. To Mr. Kavanagh, it has been a lifelong philosophy. There are no fitting words of thanks that I can give to a man that has given his life to this organisation. All the words in the world would come short. I can only say thank you for never giving up, always moving forward and bringing us all to where we are today. To Des, Mary, Graham, Wesley, Adam, Kirsty and Kiva, I wish you every moment of happiness for the future. To Mary, I say this, it's never too late to get him into golf. Delegates, colleagues and friends, thank you for so many great years. Please join me in thanking Mr. Kavanagh for all he has done for the P&A. We will never forget you. Thank you, Des. Is that it? Is that it? Is it over? Okay. Thanks. Thanks. Thanks, lads. Thanks very much, lads. I really appreciate that. Thanks very much. And they're sincere words, Des, and you deserve everything, okay? And thanks very much. I'm going to finish up. I said I'd keep it short. She's in like a rabbit again, look, straight away. Jesus, I can't keep her out of it at all. Yeah. Breda, be careful there. You could have someone sleeping with you tonight. Do I think they're going on? Yeah. It's year board, and I really must say this, that to me, I had a personal loss yesterday with elections. Elections are horrific, and there's casualties and there's winners. But to the couple of casualties, and I really respect where they've come from, I really want to thank and I really appreciate what Bernie has done for the organisation, what Catherine Devine has done for the organisation, and what Trish Toland has done for the organisation. And I really sincerely thank them for their effort over the last number of years, and I wish them well on their road into the future. Thank you all. Bravery can be measured by medals. It can be measured by a lot of things. But Trish Toland is as brave a person as I've ever met. And she's here today with bravery on her side. I want a special recognition for Trish, please. No, but when someone goes, someone comes in. That's what happens. I don't have to look far away to see it. But I really want to welcome, and I want to give our best wishes to our new chairperson. The first time in the history of the PNA that a woman has been put forward. A woman has been put forward as chair. I really want to put forward that one. She tells me she'll crack the whip. I wish her well. Mine are broke. I also want to... I also want to welcome Mick Guilfoyle. I know Mick when he started out as well. He was like myself, a commoner or gardener, staff nurse. But he worked for his members. He always looked after his members. And now I hear that he's above as a CNM3. It absolutely baffles me. It baffles me. But as they say, Seamus Murphy used to have a great saying, a rising tide raises all boats, obviously. I also want to wish great success coming onto the board, and another man as well, Owen Ward. He has been the lifeblood of the private hospital. He's always short of a few words. He's absolutely shy about coming forward. But I really wish him well coming onto the board, and I wish him a great stay on the board. Ollie, when someone vacates, someone is ready to step in, always. And there was Tracy. She was going along as the Midlands rep, and the next thing, who steps into her place? Ollie Byrne. Good man, Ollie, and I wish you well on the board as well when you're coming at it as well. Lorraine Doherty as well, coming onto the board. I really wish you well. I hope you have great success, and I hope you get as much enjoyment out of it as I did. There are a couple of people I'd like to thank, and I suppose you're all very familiar with me and my accomplishments at computer level and at mobile phones and things like that. I want to thank Elaine and Paula. They've absolutely been superb to me, and they've given me great time, and they've been patient and considerate with me, and they have done everything for me, and I really appreciate it. And I want to thank you very much, both of you. You've been a rock of wisdom, and your knowledge of computers and technology and all that baffles me, but you get there anyway. And I thank you most sincerely for it, for your professionalism. What can I say? One man once said, Nelson was his name, and he was about to die, and he was sitting there, lying on the deck, and his good friend, his name began with H, the second letter was a A, there was a Y in it. I'm feeling the same way today. But didn't hardly, I'm going to say, it is Hayes. Kiss me, Hayes. Come on, kiss me hardly. Kiss me, Hayes. I want to thank Michael Hayes very much for his and for all his support through the years, and thanks very much, Michael. Another first, while I did, and I'll blow my own trumpet on this, while I was chair, we've had our first female chairperson. We also had our first female IRO, and I really, it was a privilege to work with her, Caroline, and she's been a godsend to us, and I wish her very well into the future. And Rory has come on board, and I want to wish him as well. It's a very precarious position to be in as an IRO. You're measured by your achievements. It's not, and there's another measurement as well that people look at as well about losses. I can safely say that we don't have many losses, and I really appreciate the work that they've done down through the years, and they've cemented themselves into the organisation, and they represent you, and do they represent you? That we've had great successes, and I wish them well, and I wish them continued success on your behalf. And I want to a small measure of appreciation for him. Thanks very much. But getting to the final matter, and Des, we'll talk to him tomorrow, or we'll talk to him this evening. We'll talk to him tomorrow as well if he's around. But the man who's filling his shoes is Peter Hughes, and I can only say that having watched him in action in the dispute, and you can say what you like about it, it was the most successful dispute we've ever had. And I hold no bones about that. It was the most successful dispute, and we got resolution to 14 out of 15 issues, and that was huge, a huge success. And I think I put that down to... And I put that down to Peter Hughes and his intelligent use. And I'll tell you what, we didn't lose one shilling over it. Not one bob did we lose. And look at what we gained. There are other organisations, they're in the media, they're here, they're never heard. They have lost weeks and weeks of wages. Look at what we have gained. And I want you to measure that the next time someone says, all out, all out. We measure things, and I want to take the wisdom of the board. And it absolutely astounded me the way it was measured and the way it was gradually upped and upped and upped. And it was ye, the people on the ground, who upped and upped and upped it. And until it got to a point where management said, what are we going to do? And look what they did. You have got back your community allowance, the LSI, you got most, if not everything. It was never again going to be heard of the community allowance, and it was reinstated. And I want to thank our negotiating team, and I want to thank the full-time officials for driving it. But most of all, I want to thank ye, because it was ye on the ground when you didn't open doors, when you didn't open facilities, when you didn't use your car, and that was absolutely instrumental in gaining us success in that. And I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I really wish you well. Thanks. I'm going to finish up, and I'm going to say thanks very much to all you, for all your help and all your assistance down through the years. I'll miss you all. I'll be around in the background for a while, hopefully, and we'll see you all again. But I wish you a good conference this evening, and we'll talk to you again this evening. Thanks very much. Thank you.